Our scripture reading today comes from the 17th chapter of the Gospel according to John. Many consider, and Unity has always taught, that this John Gospel is perhaps the most metaphysical. There's that big word. But what it means is that John seemed primarily concerned with conveying that withinness, that essential truth revealed by Jesus the Christ. In this reading, please notice many times the word name is used. Now, I don't know about you, but somehow my name doesn't always express to me the deepest truth. It just seems kind of like a label. Oh, James, something to call me rather than hey you. But in the scriptural sense, the name of God, the name of anything, was like that story all the way back in Genesis when the divine commanded Adam to name creation. That was to call forth and identify its essential nature and truth. So the name of God would be a consciousness of all the qualities, although they are endless when we speak of the divine. So keep that in mind, that the name is more than just Jesse James. It's the nature or the quality that is being named. I have revealed your name to those whom you gave me out of the world. They were yours. You gave them to me, and they have obeyed your word. Now they know that everything you have given me comes from you. For I gave them the words you gave me, and they accepted them. They knew with certainty that I came from you, and they believed that you sent me. I pray for them. I am not praying for the world, but for those you have given me, for they are yours. All I have is yours, and all you have is mine, and the glory has come to me through them. I will remain in the world no longer, but they are still in the world, and I am coming to you. Holy Father, protect them by the power of your name, of your nature, so that they may be one as we are one. While I was with them, I protected them and kept them safe by that name, that power you gave me. None has been lost except the one. I am coming to you now, but I say these things while I am still in the world, so that they may have the full measure of my joy within them. I have given them your word, and the world has hated them, for they are not of the world any more than I am of the world. My prayer is not that you take them out of the world, but that you protect them from the evil one. They are not of the world, even as I am not of it. Sanctify them by the truth. Your truth is your word. As you sent me into the world, I have sent them into the world. For them I sanctify myself, so that they too may be truly sanctified, made holy, brought into wholeness. Thanks be to God for the Holy Word. This prayer, I think you can tell in its length and its intensity why it is called the high priestly prayer offered by Jesus before his time of death and resurrection. That he was calling forth all those who seek after something higher, a greater truth, that often they will find difficulty and persecution in the outer world, or maybe even just a lack of understanding by others. And so, Jesus was calling upon the very nature of God to bless, to guard, to protect, to guide these seekers on their way. Now today we're going to do something a little bit different for our lesson time. The ushers are going to pass out some cards to you. And this is going to be an opportunity. I have noticed in the past several months that many have come to me with specific questions, sometimes sort of whispered. And so this is your opportunity to anonymously write your questions upon these cards. All you have ever wanted to know about unity, but we're afraid to ask. This is your opportunity. Now, I need to point out, because of our time limit, I may not get to all of the questions in the time allowed. And secondly, please notice I said all that you ever wanted to know about unity, but were afraid to ask. I did not say all you wanted to know about your minister, but were afraid to ask. This is not the time for personal questions, please. But whether it is a theological question, a historical question about unity, perhaps your question might be something that has seemed vague or a little confusing to you about unity, whether you're brand new to it or you've been into it many decades, like certain people I know in this room that I won't mention by name, Larry Hall. No, many of us have been in unity a long time, and we still have questions. I remember my dear mother would come to our unity classes in Kansas City, and she wasn't afraid to ask very pointed questions that she was hearing. For one, I'll give you, she was not raised in unity. She came into unity because of my involvement. And she was around the Founders Church, Unity Temple in Kansas City. And one day she asked this group of women in a study class, they were all her similar age, her contemporaries. And she said, I just don't get it. Ever since I've been coming to this church, all I hear is so-and-so made their transition. So-and-so made their transition. She said, I was raised, we just said so-and-so died. What's this transition business? So they had a lovely conversation about the tradition and unity of saying that someone made their transition, which is the time of their physical death, and what that means. And now I brought it up, so I have to say something about it. For our co-founder, Myrtle Fillmore, within a few days of her death, physical death, she said goodbye to her unity workers in Kansas City, going from office to office, and she said, I know that I can do my work better from the other side. She went out to the wonderful little house at Unity Farm, which is now called Unity Village, and she had a rose garden there, and she had 2 lovely days of working in her garden and then passed in her sleep at the age of 86. She made her transition. She made a shift from being in this world physically in a body to continuing her soul journey in the invisible or spiritual realm, or we may call it heaven by a traditional name. But she continued her work on the invisible side of life. And so Unity in its early years started adopting this idea of not saying John Doe died, which seemed like with their physical parting they no longer existed, but they would say John Do made his transition, indicating that that soul had an ongoing existence. Just because they laid the body aside, they continued their work on the other side, to use Myrtle's words. So if the ushers will pass, well, just pass the cards to the center aisle. That's the simplest way to do it. And collect them. And if you signed your card, that's all right, but you don't have to. And it's all right. The ushers will be mindful. If you don't have your card ready, we'll collect those who are ready, and others can come a little later. Do I get a drum roll, or? I need some Jeopardy music. Do, 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 do. Oh, thank you. Here we go. And the first question is, oh, okay. The question is, why do we seem to be afraid of calling ourselves a church? We are Unity at the Lake Church. Is it political, the decision? Well, historically, Unity started in the very beginning, referring to groups of Unity students that formally organized themselves, that was known as a Unity Center. A Unity Center. Our co-founders, especially Charles Fillmore, stated many, many times that Unity was not an attempt to form a church in the traditional sense. They were trying to form what was more described as a school. In the early years of the Unity movement, most people, not everyone, but most people had an affiliation with another Christian denomination, usually, and they came to Unity as a supplemental experience. They came to Unity to study and to deepen their understanding of what Christianity was. One example of that, you may notice that we do not have a communion service here on a regular basis, as some other denominations of Christianity do. I do believe in offering it occasionally. But the reason for that is that Holy Communion, or receiving the goodness of God, receiving the Christ life, Christ body, was something that in the Fillmore's day, many people were getting in their traditional church affiliation. They were getting the bread and the wine. And at Unity, they were offered spiritual communion, which was a meditative experience of perceiving the inner reality of receiving the body and blood of Christ, represented outwardly in the sacred bread and wine, inwardly as perfect substance and life. So that was an example where Unity invited people that wanted to deepen their understanding of Christian experience to come into a Unity Center for that study. In more recent years, it may be a little more of a social adjustment in that our Association of Unity Churches, which is now known as Unity Worldwide Ministries, it is their suggestion to try to stay in the flow with modern times that younger generations find the word church not as exciting. It sounds formal and forbidding. And often, unity groups choose to emphasize the concept in the name unity. And they just use that, and they do not append the word church to it. So it's not that it's a matter of right or wrong, it's an idea that is evolving. Can unity ideas relate to current events, and how? That's a very important question. Thank you for the one that wrote that down. I think taking our unity ideals and concepts into daily practice was both the intention and the power of unity in its early days. Unity had an explosion of growth in terms of numbers, really starting a few years before World War I and through the 1920s. For example, when Mrs. Fillmore passed in 1931, the Kansas City Star noted that there were at least 100,000 people in the Kansas City metropolitan area that were connected with the unity work one way or the other. Through attendance, activity, tens of thousands were listening to Unity's own radio station, the oldest one in the country, WOQ, that Unity began operating in 1923. So I think we are at our best as a group, as a unity group, when we can take the high ideals that we affirm in our prayers and make them real in the outer events of the world. When we don't make them real, what the Fillmores called when we don't demonstrate them. They said, take the truth you know within and demonstrate it. Make it real in the world. When we don't do that, the author we've studied, Dr. Maria Namath, had a wonderful word for it. She called it metaphysal. Metaphysal. That means to hold an idea powerfully, we do not express it in our outer actions. So we hold to the concept of divine love as an ideal, and so then it is for us to demonstrate it in our relationships with others, of mutual respect, of goodwill, of understanding, to make that divine love real in the world. That's our highest work. That's why I emphasize in our community prayer each Sunday. One person said, does it need to be quite so long? Well, that's how I know how to do it right now. Perhaps I can be more concise. But I want to emphasize for us that is when we come together in a prayer, and very often during the service on Sunday is the only time that we are all physically present here and in agreement to hold these truths of God. That is our essential work. And then what? Then we go forth from this place, and the rest of the week, when we are at our best, individually and as a group, we are what? Demonstrating, making those truths real out here. Another drum. Aha, okay, here's one. Does Unity believe everyone will go to heaven? Well, we have a lot of two-part answers to our questions today. Ultimately, Unity teaches that because our God, our Creator, is of unlimited power and love for his creation, that ultimately every living soul would be taken to a place of highest good. You may call it heaven. You may call it the spiritual world. We may have different names for it. But we're going to be led in a way that I often quote Rudolf Steiner said, life, that is God, leads everyone progressively forward. Now, we may have stumbles along the way. We may have difficulties. We may have repeated earth lives. Now, unity does not require those of us that come to unity to say, I pledge allegiance to the doctrine of reincarnation. That is up to us individually. Myrtle Fillmore described reincarnation, or having more than one earth life, as the merciful provision of God to give a soul more than one opportunity to learn in the schoolhouse of life. But that is something that unity trusts each individual to come to their own understanding. So we do not ask Fran to stand up and profess in front of us, I believe in reincarnation, or I do not.